Sometimes in life, a pen freezes in your hand, not because of the cold, but because your heart stops beating. Because the signature you're about to write doesn't just determine your paycheck, it determines who you are. Sammy Davis Jr. was halfway through signing the biggest contract of his career when he saw them through the window. A mother and 3 children, huddled against his theater's back door in the freezing December cold, using newspaper as blankets. The pen stopped moving. On the contract, $500,000 for one New Year's Eve show, enough money to buy a mansion. But when Sammy looked at that family again, shivering in the snow, something inside him broke. What happened in the next 18 hours would cost him everything he'd worked for. But it would prove that some things matter more than gold. December 30th, 1971, the Sands Hotel, Las Vegas. 4:23 p.m., Sammy Davis Jr. was about to sign the most lucrative contract in Vegas history when his world changed forever. But what Sammy didn't know was that this moment had been building for 3 weeks, ever since the phone call that haunted his dreams. To understand why this contract nearly destroyed him, you need to understand what Christmas meant to a man who'd spent his childhood hungry. Every December, Sammy remembered being 8 years old in a freezing bus station in Ohio, watching his father count coins that weren't enough for food. Someone had saved them that night, a stranger who saw 2 people who needed help. Now, 27 years later, Sammy was the one with the power to save someone. 3 weeks earlier, his childhood friend Marcus Williams had called from Detroit. "Sam, I need help. My sister Rose lost everything. Her husband died in Vietnam. The factory closed. She's got 3 kids and nowhere to go." "Where is she now?" "Coming to Vegas. I told her you'd help, but Sam, she doesn't know I called you. She's too proud to ask for help from anyone." Sammy understood pride. It was the armor that kept you standing when the world tried to knock you down. But it was also the wall that kept help from reaching you when you needed it most. "What's her name?" "Rose Thompson. 3 kids. Maria, 8, Tommy, 6, and little Sarah, 4. Good people. Just bad luck." For 3 weeks, Sammy had been thinking about Rose Thompson and her children. He'd tried calling shelters, but they were all full. December was the cruelest month for people with nowhere to go. And then, as Sammy was about to sign away his future, fate put them right outside his window. The contract was spread across his marble coffee table. 5 pages that boiled down to one simple fact. Perform 1 show on New Year's Eve, earn $500,000. In 1971, that was retirement money. Bernie Goldman, his agent, paced the room like a man possessed. "Sammy, this is it. 20 years of work led to this moment. 1 night, 1 show, set for life." "I know what it means, Bernie." "Do you?" "This isn't just money, Sam. This is respect. This proves that Sammy Davis Jr. can command the highest price in Vegas history." Sammy picked up the pen. Solid gold. A gift from Frank Sinatra. He'd signed thousands of contracts with this pen, but this one felt different. That's when he saw them. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows, Sammy could see the back alley behind the Sands. December in Vegas meant cold that cut through your bones, and there, pressed against the stage door, was a woman with 3 small children, using newspapers as blankets. The woman, who had to be Rose, was trying to shield her children with her own body. The little girl was crying, but it wasn't the demanding cry of a spoiled child. It was the defeated whimper of someone who'd learned that crying didn't bring help. Sammy's hand stopped halfway to the signature line, but he didn't sign yet. He couldn't, because looking at that family brought back memories he'd spent decades trying to forget. "Sam, you okay?" Bernie asked. "Yeah, give me a second." Sammy walked to the window. From 6 floors up, he could see everything. The mother's exhausted face, the children's thin clothes, the way they huddled together, sharing body heat that wasn't enough. In his mind, he could hear his father's voice from that bus station in Ohio. "Sometimes, son, the only difference between us and them is luck. And when your luck changes, you remember." "Sam, what's the temperature today?" "What?" "The weather. What's the temperature?" Bernie checked his watch. 19 degrees. "Now can we focus?" 19 degrees. That family was outside with nothing but newspaper for warmth. But Sammy still didn't make his choice. Not yet. Because Bernie was right about one thing. This was his last shot. At 55, opportunities like this didn't come twice. "Bernie, if I walk away from this, do I ever get another chance?" Bernie stopped pacing. Sam, what are you talking about? Why would you walk away? Just answer the question. Honestly, probably not. You're not young anymore, Sam. This is it. Sammy felt the weight of those words. This was it, his final chance at financial security, his last opportunity to prove that a one-eyed black entertainer could command respect in Vegas. But then the little girl, Sarah, stopped crying. She just sat there, staring at nothing. And Sammy knew what that meant. That's when children give up, when they stop hoping and start accepting. There's a family outside, Sammy said quietly. So? Sam, this is Vegas. There are homeless people everywhere. A mother and 3 children. They're sleeping in the alley. Bernie followed Sammy's gaze. When he saw the family, his expression softened slightly. Look, Sam, I see what you're thinking, but you can't throw away $500,000 for strangers. What if they weren't strangers? What do you mean? Sammy thought about Marcus Williams, about promises made to old friends, about the thin line between helping and betraying someone's pride. Bernie, when I was 6 years old, my father and I spent Christmas Eve in a bus station. We had no money, nowhere to go. A lady saw us there, a complete stranger. You know what she did? Sam, she took us home, fed us, gave us warm clothes, let us sleep in real beds. We never saw her again, but she saved our lives. That's beautiful, Sam, but this is business. No, Bernie, this is life. Sammy walked back to the contract. The pen felt heavier in his hand now. On one side was everything he'd worked for. On the other was everything he believed in, but he still wasn't ready to choose. What about Elvis? Bernie asked desperately. If you don't take this, they're going with Elvis. Do you want to see him get the biggest payday in Vegas history? Elvis. Sammy's friend, his rival, his measuring stick. If Elvis took this gig, the headlines would read, Elvis commands record Vegas fee, and Sammy would go back to being second best. For a moment, Sammy wavered. For a moment, the competitor in him wanted to sign that contract and show the world what Sammy Davis Jr. was worth. But then he looked at the window again. The family was still there, still cold, still hoping someone would notice them. And Sammy thought about his father's words again. When your luck changes, you remember. His luck had changed 40 years ago in that bus station. A stranger had seen a father and son who needed help, and she'd helped them. No cameras, no publicity, no reward, just human kindness. Now it was his turn to be that stranger. Bernie, I need to tell you something. I know that woman. What? Her name is Rose Thompson. Her brother called me 3 weeks ago. Bernie's face changed. Sam, you've been planning this? No, I've been hoping I wouldn't have to choose. But you do have to choose, right now. Sammy looked at the contract one more time. $500,000, financial security, proof that he'd made it to the top of his profession. Then he looked at the family again, a mother trying to keep her children warm with newspaper. Children who'd stopped believing that anyone cared about them. And Sammy Davis Jr. made his choice. He picked up the contract and tore it in half. Bernie shot up from his chair. Sam, what the hell are you doing? I'm making a decision. You're making a mistake. Do you have any idea what you just threw away? Yeah, I threw away a piece of paper. Now I'm going to help a family. Sam, please, think about this. We can call the police, social services. On December 30th, Bernie, it's New Year's Eve weekend. Nobody's handling anything until next week. That family will be dead by then. Sammy headed for the door. Where are you going? Downstairs, to invite some people for dinner. Sam, what am I supposed to tell the Sands? What about the people with tickets? Sammy stopped at the door. Tell them the truth, Bernie. Tell them Sammy Davis Jr. found something more important to do. The elevator ride down felt like descending into a different world. Up in his suite, everything was warm and safe. Down here, reality was waiting. When Sammy pushed open the stage door, the cold hit him like a physical blow. 19 degrees felt like the Arctic. Rose looked up at him with the wariness of someone who'd been disappointed too many times. The children pressed closer to her. Ma'am, I'm sorry to bother you. My name is Sammy Davis Jr. Rose's eyes widened. She recognized him, but she was too exhausted to be starstruck. I don't want any trouble, Mr. Davis. We'll move if you need us to. No, ma'am. I'm here to invite you upstairs for dinner and warmth. That's very kind, but we don't accept charity. There it was. The pride Marcus had warned him about. The same pride that had kept Sammy fighting when everyone said he'd never make it. It's not charity, ma'am. It's dinner. I was about to eat alone, and eating alone on New Year's Eve is just depressing. Mr. Davis, I appreciate what you're trying to do. Mrs. Thompson. Rose froze. How do you know my name? Your brother Marcus called me. He's worried about you. He promised he wouldn't. He loves you. That's not something to be angry about. Rose looked at her 3 children. Maria, trying to be brave. Tommy, shivering despite his attempts to look tough. And Sarah, who had given up trying to stay warm. Just for dinner? Just for dinner, Sammy lied because he already knew this family wasn't spending another night in the cold. Mommy, I'm hungry, Sarah whispered. And that was all it took. The elevator ride was silent. The children had never been in a building this fancy. Sammy's penthouse was like stepping into a different universe. Crystal chandeliers, marble floors, windows showing all of Vegas spread out like glittering jewelry. Welcome to my home, Sammy said. For the next hour, Sammy cooked. Simple food, grilled cheese sandwiches, tomato soup, hot chocolate. The children ate like they hadn't seen food in days. Mrs. Thompson, how long have you been in Vegas? 3 days. I thought I could find work, start over. Rose's eyes filled with tears. We lost our house in Detroit. After my husband died, I couldn't keep up with payments. I thought Vegas would be different. What did you do before? I was a seamstress. I was good at it. How would you feel about being the best seamstress in Las Vegas? What do you mean? I mean, I know people who need talented seamstresses. People who pay well and treat employees like family. That night, the Thompson family slept in real beds for the first time in months. But Sammy didn't sleep. He spent the night on the phone, calling friends, calling in favors. By morning, he'd arranged a job for Rose, an apartment, school enrollment for the children. The next evening, New Year's Eve, instead of performing for thousands of people, Sammy spent the evening helping the Thompson family move into their new apartment. At midnight, as 1972 began, Sammy wasn't on stage earning $500,000. He was sitting in a small apartment watching a 6-year-old girl hug a teddy bear she'd never thought she'd own. And he felt richer than any paycheck could ever make him. But the story doesn't end with one family saved. Sometimes, when you sacrifice everything for strangers, you discover they weren't strangers at all. 3 months later, Sammy received a letter that changed how he understood wealth. It was from 10-year-old Sarah Thompson, written in shaky handwriting. Dear Mr. Sammy, it began. Thank you for being our Santa. Not the Santa who gives presents, the Santa who gives hope. I sleep in a real bed now, and I'm not cold anymore. When I grow up, I want to help families like you helped us. Love, Sarah. Sammy read that letter 17 times. Each time, he understood more about what he'd accomplished by tearing up that contract. He hadn't just saved one family. He'd given a 10-year-old girl a reason to believe in goodness. The people of Las Vegas didn't forget what Sammy Davis Jr. had done. The story of the entertainer who threw away $500,000 to help a homeless family became legend. Casino workers told tourists about it. Waitresses mentioned it to customers. Cab drivers shared it with passengers who seemed to have forgotten what generosity looked like. Frank Sinatra called him a month later. Sam, I heard what you did, throwing away $500,000 for strangers. They weren't strangers, Frank. I know. That's what makes you special. Most of us have to learn to see people. You just see them. But perhaps the most meaningful response came from someone Sammy had never met. A year later, he received a visit from an elderly woman named Margaret Chen. She had traveled from San Francisco specifically to meet him. Mr. Davis, I wanted to thank you. For what, ma'am? I don't think we've met. We haven't. But 50 years ago, I was Rose Thompson. Different name, different city, but the same story. A young mother with children and nowhere to go. And someone helped me. Sammy felt his throat tighten. What happened? A performer saw me and my children sleeping in an alley behind his theater. He took us in, helped me find work, gave us a chance at a real life. That's beautiful. Mr. Davis, that performer was your father. The words hit Sammy like lightning. His father had never told him about helping a family. It had just been something he'd done, quietly, without recognition. I raised 4 children, Margaret continued. All grew up to be good people who help others. They learned from me, and I learned from your father. Why are you telling me this? Because kindness isn't just about the person you help. It's about the person they become. Your father started something 50 years ago that's still growing. Last December, you added another branch to that tree. Margaret stood to leave. My youngest grandson heard your story. You know what he said? Grandma, when I grow up, I want to be rich enough to help people like Mr. Sammy did. That little boy understands what too many adults have forgotten. Being rich isn't about how much money you have, it's about how much good you can do. Years later, when Sarah Thompson graduated college with a degree in social work, she sent Sammy a photograph. It showed her with homeless families she was helping. On the back, "You taught me that everyone deserves to feel seen. Now I help other people see that too." That's the complete story of the night Sammy Davis Jr. canceled his New Year's Eve show. It's not about one moment of sacrifice. One choice can echo through generations. Greatest performances happen when nobody watches. True wealth isn't dollars, but lives touched. Sometimes being Santa isn't about presents,